The Moro people is a coined term for the population of indigenous Muslims in the Philippines, forming the largest non-Catholic group in the country, and comprising about 5.1% of the total Philippine population. There are around 13 Filipino ethnic groups included, and the majority are Muslim. Most of the followers of Sunni Islam of Shafi'i madhab. The Moro term came into use during the pre-colonial period, drawing upon a term used centuries earlier to refer the Muslims of Al-Andalus in southern Spain known as the Moors during the Reconquista, applied to the native Muslims within conquered islands. Traditionally, the indigenous Filipino Muslims were offended with the term Moro, for it was taken from the Moro stage plays from the Spanish era, in which Muslims were always depicted as antagonists. In modern history, influential groups such as the Moro National Liberation Front espoused the Moro identity to unify all Muslim groups in the Philippines. This is different from the Filipino identity, as it was more seen as an epithet to Christian ethnic groups. In addition, with the Moro concept represents their distinct Islamic heritage. MNLF leader Nur Masuari clarifies that they are not a part of the majority Filipino society with a slogan, Moro not Filipino, in their struggle for autonomy or independence against the Catholic majority Philippine central government. This is rooted from resistance of the then Spanish and American rule who forced him to integrate into the modern Philippine Republic. The Moro people mostly live in Mindanao, Sulu and Palawan. Due to continuous movement of their people since the 16th century until present, Moro communities can be found in all large cities in the Philippines, including Manila, Cebu and Davao. Many Moros also have emigrated to Malaysia, Indonesia and Brunei in the last half of the 20th century due to the conflict in the southern Philippines. Newer communities can be found today in Kota Kinabalu, Sandakan, Semporna in neighboring Sabah, Malaysia, North Kalimantan in Indonesia, as well in Bandar Seri Begawan of Brunei. Etymology. The recently coined term Bangsa Moro, derived from the Old Malay word bangsa, meaning race or nation, with the Moro as people, is used to describe both the indigenous Filipino Muslim and their homeland. The term Bangsa Moro carries the aspiration of the indigenous Filipino Muslims to have an Islamic country or state. The word Moro itself was a pseudonym which had been used before in the 16th century by Spanish colonizers in reference to a Muslim group of Moors, which originating from Moru, a Latin word that referred to the inhabitants of the ancient Roman province of Mauritania in northwest Africa, which today comprises the modern Muslim states of Algeria, Mauritania and Morocco. With the rise of Mauritania as part of the Muslim Umayyad Caliphate, Muslim armies conquered and ruled much of the Iberian Peninsula from 711 to 1492, for about a total of 781 years, in which the term revived when the Christian majority Spanish involved in a war with them and started calling the Muslims as Moors. The term was then being used again by the Spanish when they arriving in the Philippine archipelago and found a similar Muslim groups who rebels against them. Despite opposition from the modern Muslim community in the Philippines who objected to the term's origin by Spanish colonialists, the name has evolved and become seen as a unitary force, especially by the Philippine government. Marvic Leonan, who was the chief peace negotiator for Philippine government with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, has said, since the 19th century, many of the indigenous Muslims preferred to be separated from the mainstream Philippine society. Due to social and political factors, it was later been adopted as a name for separatist organizations such as the Moro National Liberation Front. Rashid Lukman's Bangsa Moro Liberation Organization as well the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. The Framework Agreement on the Bangsamoro recognizes Bangsamoro as an identity and calls for the creation of an autonomous political entity called Bangsamoro. Further acknowledgement creates conflict in the region. The native Muslims of Mindanao often consider as a Filipino Muslim by the Philippine government. Ethnic divisions: 13 Philippine ethnic groups which identified as part of the Moro group are Bajao, Aranoon, Jamamapun, Calagan, Calabagan, Maguindanao, Palawanan, Maranao, Molbog, Sama, Sangjal, Tausug, Yakan. Society. Region: the majority of the so-called Moro peoples historically reside in the area they now call the Bangsamoro region, which was commonly called Muslim Mindanao. That land is located in the provinces of Basilan, Cotabato, Compostela Valley, Davao del Sur, Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, Palawan, Sarangani, South Cotabato, Sultan Kudarat and Sulu, Tawi-Tawi. It includes the cities of Cotabato, Dapitan, Dipolog, General Santos, Iligan, Marawi. The eastern part of a territory of the former British Protectorate in eastern North Borneo, which have since become part of the Federation of Malaysia, also claimed by the MNLF for the proposed state of Bangsamoro Republic. But the idea has since fallen with the MNLF. Leader Masuari became self-exile after an encounter with the armed forces of the Philippines, more so after he was labeled as a terrorist during the siege. On 5 August 2008, an attempt by the Philippine government's peace negotiating panel to sign a memorandum of agreement on ancestral domain with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front was declared unconstitutional by the Philippine Supreme Court. Conflict immediately broke out on the ground following the decision, with nearly 500,000 people displaced and hundreds killed. Observers now concur that two MILF commanders, Commander Umbracato and Commander Bravo, did launch attacks in Lanao del Norte and North Cotabato as a response to the non-signing that has shaken the peace process in the region. The Framework Agreement on the Bangsamoro defines the Bangsamoro to be those who at the time of conquest and colonization were considered natives, or original inhabitants of Mindanao and the Sulu archipelago and its adjacent islands including Palawan, and their descendants whether of mixed or of full blood. Culture. Moro culture is very Malay-influenced. The Bangsamoro share similarities with the Malay people of Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Singapore and southern Thailand. Islam is the most dominant influence on the Moro cultures since the era of Sultanate of Maguindanao and Sulu. Large and small mosques can be found all over the region. In accordance with Islamic law, alcohol and fornication are prohibited. Pork and pork byproducts are not permissible. Another practice is fasting during Ramadan and providing charity for the poor. The Hajj is also a major ritual as it is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Moro women cover themselves using a veil just as in Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Singapore and southern Thailand. Moro men, especially the elderly, can always be seen wearing a black Muslim men cap called the songkok or the white one called the takiya, differentiating from their Malay relatives in neighboring country. The only main problems associated with Moro groups is that they are always not united and lack of solidarity. Each group is proud with their powers, position as well with their culture and identity, which frequently resulting in a dispute such as Rido. Music. The culture of the Moro revolves around the music of the kulintang, a type of gong instrument, akin to the drum instrument, yet wholly made of bronze or brass found in the southern Philippines. This creates a unique sound that varies in the speed it is hit, which includes the binalug, tagongo and the kapanarong plus others more, also normally heard in Malaysia, Indonesia and Brunei. Ethnic groups. There are at least 13 ethnic groups comprising the Moro of the Philippines, all descended from the same Austronesian people that migrated from Taiwan and populated the regions of the Philippines. Southeast Asia, the Pacific Islands and Madagascar. Three of these groups make up the majority of these tribes. They are the Maguindanao of North Cotabato, Sultan Kudarat and Maguindanao provinces, the Maranao of the Lanao provinces and the Tausug of the Sulu archipelago. Smaller groups include the Banginga, Samal and the Bajor of the Sulu archipelago, the Yakan of Basilan and Zamboanga del Sur, the Ilanan of Lanao provinces and Davao and Sangir of Davao, the Molbog of southern Palawan and the Jama-Mapunts of Cagayan and Tawi-Tawi Island. Christian converts to Islam may self-identify or be identified by others as Moro. Languages. The Moro people are mostly speakers of a variety of Austronesian languages. The most spoken native languages of the Moro are Maguindanao, Tausug and Maranao. The Maguindanao language is spoken in the Maguindanao province. The Maranao language is predominant in the Lanao region, and is the majority spoken in Lanao del Sur, and the Tausug language is spoken in the Sulu archipelago with speakers in the Zamboanga Peninsula and the Malaysian state of Sabah. Other Austronesian languages spoken by their respective tribes are the Sama Bajor languages, Yakan and Kalagan. Also spoken among the Moros of Mindanao and Sulu is Tagalog. For the sake of living in the Philippines and being a national language of the Philippines, there also exists a native Tagalog Muslim community in the Quiapo district of Metro Manila. Because of the mass influx of Cebuano migrants to Mindanao, many of the Moros tend to be exposed to the Cebuano language from Visayan easily enough to be able to speak it, especially with the Tausug, since the language is a Visayan language. A sizable minority speaks Malay, also an Austronesian language which was once the lingua franca of maritime Southeast Asia prior to contact with the European colonial powers. Today, many Moro merchants use Malay to converse with citizens of the neighboring Malay-speaking nations of Malaysia, Indonesia and Brunei. Most of the Malay-speaking Muslims of the Philippines are those in the southern parts of the Zamboanga Peninsula, the Sulu archipelago and the southern predominantly Muslim-inhabited municipalities of Bataraza and Balabac in Palawan. They likely speak a form of Malay Creole. Many of the Tausug in Malaysia and Indonesia tend to lose their proficiency in both Tausug and Chavacano, as well on Tagalog, as they became assimilated into the Malay-speaking majority of Malaysia, Indonesia and Brunei. Chavacano is a Philippine Spanish Creole that gained popularity as a Philippine major language during the short-lived Republic of Zamboanga. Most of the Moros have also attained the ability to speak this language, specifically the Zamboanga dialect known as Zamboangano, especially those that live in Zamboanga and Basilan. Chavacano is popular with both Muslims and Christians in Mindanao and Sulu. A minority of Moros in Sulu and Tawi-Tawi speak Chavacano, as these areas were partially ruled by the Spanish. Tausugs have fluency of speaking it, as Chavacano contains Visayan words. Chavacano also contains communities of speakers in Semporna, Sabah. Arabic, a Central Semitic language, is also spoken by a minority of the Moro people, being the liturgical language of Islam. Most Moros, however, do not know Arabic beyond its religious uses. Most of the languages of the Moro people are written in the Latin script. However, an Arabic script known as Jawi is used to write Tausug language. Attempts are being made to make Jawi an official script in the future Bangsa Moro entity. Education. Generally, the Moro populace are educated. Some choose Islamic education and enrolled in Islamic, Arabic institutions like Jamiatul Mindanao al-Islami located in Marawi City and even outside the country like in Al-Azhar University, Cairo, Egypt and Islamic University of Medina, Saudi Arabia through scholarship grants, while majority completed English, Western education. They owe it to Mindanao State University, the second biggest state university in the Philippines next to University of the Philippines. which has several campuses across Mindanao, and its main campus is located at the heart of Islamic city of Marawi. Mindanao State University has also an Islamic institute within its campus, which is the King Faisal Center for Islamic Arabic Asian Studies. Some Moro students are enrolled at other institutions, both private and government, especially in key cities such as Davao, Cebu and Manila.